I just want to slip in a brief word of introduction before we continue with our speaker this evening. Pride is a feeling that can often overcome me when I am in this sacred place, or quite honestly, when I am in the midst of the TBE community, wherever we may be. It is a feeling of contentment, of security, of gratification, and fulfillment. Yes, a feeling of shalom, that much is right with the world at this very moment. Pride is an extraordinary feeling, and our Hebrew scriptures uses this word, pride, dozens of times in our sacred text. Ga'ah, it reads, to be elevated, to be able to lift one's eyes, to have a proud heart, a proud spirit, to express pride of speech or of tongue, or to feel pride for another. Pride is a right for all people. I am proud that our movement, the Reform movement, and our temple strongly believe that each and every one of God's people deserve to feel a sense of pride. Each of us deserve to express our gender, our sexuality, our identity as we authentically and uniquely are. But we know that this is not the case everywhere, nor has it been historically so. Observing and celebrating Pride Month in June helps us to remember the events of June 1969, when homosexuality was against the law in many places. That June, the LGBTQ+ community, led by a few brave transgender women, rioted when the New York Police Department raided the Stonewall Inn, a historically open space for LGBTQ+ people. It was a turning point for the gay community, an opportunity for equal rights. We still have a long way to go until every person can securely feel proud of who they are, until everyone can show their colors of pride on the outside. Here at TBE, we have decided that we need to make sure that we are doing this work at home, here in our community. TBE has always been a welcoming community, but we must not only be welcoming, we must be advocates and allies. And I am grateful to an entire team of TBE lay leaders and youth for helping us to launch TBE's first LGBTQ+ initiative that we have named Kabbalat HaKol, which means a welcoming of all voices. And it is with deep, deep, deep pride in my heart that I invite our high school intern, Zach Gondelman, Kabbalat HaKol's founding leader, to share tonight's teaching in Devar Torah with us. So come on forward, make sure we can hear you.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. The word grapple is defined to engage in a close fight with, to wrestle without weapons, or to tussle with something. I've always had a love-hate relationship with this word, grapple, because for me, I spent a long time grappling with something inside me. Last Tuesday marked the beginning of Pride Month. And this evening, I am so honored to have the opportunity to share my coming out story and a word of Torah too. Whenever I share my story, I always begin with the word grapple. I think it's important to mention that this story is a common narrative among other LGBTQ+ friends and teachers of mine. I was very lucky from a young age, but I knew I was different and felt an otherness before I knew or could name that I was gay. In my middle school years, I vividly remember thinking to myself, oh, I figured it out. You know why I feel this way? I'm from Mars. That makes total sense. I'm not gay. Because the world I lived in told me it made more sense for me to quite literally be otherworldly than for me to be gay. And I grappled and puzzled and fought with and tried to come to terms with who I was and what that meant for me as a human in this world. I knew in my heart that I was gay, but frankly put, didn't like it. So I took that information and I put it in a box and I duct taped that box shut and I put that box in another box and duct taped that one shut and put the whole thing in the corner. And for those of you who know me best, you know that I like information to be neat and in corners. I hate to be the one to say this, but sadly, just because you ignore your problems or maybe put them in boxes and corners, that doesn't mean they go away. So for months and months, I fought internally with this piece of myself. On one fall day of October 2019, when I was finally feeling pretty okay with my identity, not great, but okay, I was planning on telling my family. This was around Halloween. But that day, I heard an adult who just happened to be on campus say to another, "Oh, being gay is so disgusting. I don't want my kid becoming a social justice warrior." And those words haunted me, because this thing I was finally okay with had been shot down before my very eyes. My worst fear heard out loud. So it took me back to square one. And for about 3 months, I kept grappling and asking myself questions like, am I really okay with this? And who am I? Around December, I vividly remember realizing that there were two pieces of my now semi-formed identity that I hadn't thought about together: my Judaism and my sexual orientation. I remember it was the evening of December 15th when I shot out of my bed with the realization that my religion might not be accepting of my sexuality. I remember a never-ending stream of questions running through my head like, are there gay Jews in the world? Can you even be gay and Jewish? I've never met a gay Jew, but I've also never seen all sorts of things. That doesn't mean they don't exist. So I scurried down the stairs and opened up my school-issued MacBook laptop and Googled, get ready for it, gay Jews ? Now, I'm not sure in hindsight how I thought I would get any information Googling like that, but still I remember the first 2 articles that popped up. They were something like, Judaism hates all gay people, and an Encyclopedia Britannica article speaking to every major world religion and all LGBTQ+ people. Not very helpful either. So that was the evening of Monday, December 17th. So the next day, I texted one of the best allies to the LGBTQ+ community I know, our incredible senior educator, Devin Barker. And I said something like, I need to ask you something, can we meet? That Wednesday, December 19th of 2019, we met. And after about 37 minutes of interrogating Devin inside of a Starbucks about religion, LGBTQ+ folks, and Judaism, I came out to him. I had already been out to a bunch of people in my world, but Devin was one of the first adults I told. Looking back, I can comfortably say the fear of losing this community was one of the more painful parts of my coming out. And that's the power of visibility. When we don't show our love loudly and proudly, we LGBTQ+ folks have to assume that a place isn't welcoming. I was extremely weary when I talked to Devin and asked him at least 17 times, you're sure, right? And to Devin, my heart is so incredibly full of gratitude. And thank you could never adequately describe my feelings of gratitude. It was just about a week later when I came out to my immediate family, who are both here tonight and have been nothing but incredibly supportive from day one. With my family, I never had to think about things like, would my family still love me? I didn't believe that I would lose anything that would make me feel secure, like my housing or my safety. I don't take that for granted. I just had the challenge of looking inside and coming to terms with who I was. So I began to come out to people in my world. I think it's important to add here that I hope no one looks at where I am today, someone who's more than comfortable speaking to large groups of people about who I am and how I got there, and thinks I began this way. I didn't. I grappled for a long time and continue to define and find my place in our complex world. I'm of the belief that everyone is on what I like to call their own self-love and acceptance journey. We all have something to grapple with. Everyone is on the journey of learning who they are and learning to love and appreciate themselves for being that. I'm here this evening to share that wherever you are on that journey, you're wonderful and sacred, and you have a community here at TBE that will cherish you, that will hold you high, and that will wrap you in our great love. I was recently reminded of one of my favorite stories from the Torah that speaks to a sacred kind of grappling, the story of Jacob's wrestling with an Ish. He crosses a river where he stops and is now alone. Why did he stop? Well, Rashi says that he was looking for something that he thought he had left behind. He thought he was looking for one thing and instead experienced something completely different. That's what happens when we grapple. And then we read the words, Vayivater Yaakov levado, vayavavek ish imo ad alot hashachar. Jacob is alone, and he grapples or wrestles until the break of dawn. Jacob wrestles with an ish is the word. It's the word used for human being or divine being. So Jacob is wrestling with himself, a divine being, or both. I want to point out the word vayavek isn't just to wrestle, but to get dusty. Rabbi David Kimchi, a medieval rabbi known as Radek, says, Jacob wrestled with the Ish so intensely that a cloud of dust enveloped them while they were struggling. For Jacob and for many LGBTQ plus identifying folks, the work of grappling is often done in a messy, dust-enveloped kind of way, alone, just like Jacob. So as dawn is breaking, the Ish says to Jacob, "Let me go." But Jacob answers, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So he receives and is blessed with the name Israel, one who has wrestled with God, but one who has prevailed. As a gay man reading this text, I felt a great similarity between my internal grappling and that of Jacob with his Ish. I think that everyone at some point in their life is forced to grapple with an Ish, to wrestle with the divine. And hopefully, just like Jacob, we will come out one who has wrestled and as one who has prevailed. And what does it mean to wrestle and grapple and to prevail? It means to come to terms with our authentic selves and to feel and know that we are sacred and divine. I love this community so much, and one of the hallmarks of our community is the way in which we support one another. Whether we're supporting one another on a Zoom or in person, with a holla or a hug, we're on this journey of life together. It's my hope on this Shabbat filled with pride that we don't let people grapple alone. We all must grapple, but let's support each other while we do, visibly, while we show our love out loud and with pride. I'm a firm believer that there are two ways to look at this work of sacred grappling. You can say to yourself, ugh, another thing to do. Or you can say to yourself, I get to do this. I get to make the choice to do it in a holy way. That second one is so incredibly powerful. I get to do this holy work. I get to make this world better and maybe even save a life. So, I hope you'll join me in the incredible work of searching for ourselves and in the process breaking down stereotypes and destigmatizing LGBTQ+ people. I am so proud of our community for embracing this new initiative. And I want to add here that I'm not asking each and every one of us to do laps around the building, pride flag in hand with buckets of glitter, though if you would like to do that, please email me, zgondelman@tbewellesley.org. We can make that happen. I am, however, asking that each and every one here take a look inside and ask yourself this question. What am I comfortable doing to support the LGBTQ+ community this year? And when you have that answer, that one thing you're super comfortable doing, I hope you'll go one step further. and do that to show your support. Step just a tiny bit outside of your comfort zone. Because the frank reality is, for me and many of my queer and LGBTQ plus friends and colleagues, that feeling of discomfort, it's an old friend. Mine was in the box I talked earlier about, and one we didn't particularly choose to have around. I have always felt TBE should be a microcosm of our world. On this Shabbat filled with pride, it's my personal prayer that each and every one of us look inside, just like Jacob, and grapple, and see how we can show our pride. This is our call to courage, our call to pride. Shabbat shalom, everyone, and happy, happy Pride.